In this lesson, we will learn how to make our reflections look more realistic by adding a Fresnel texture to the reflection channel. Okay, so I've just got this little piggy bank here with a very glossy texture on it. And I'd like to go ahead and show you what that looks like in a render view. So I'm just going to hit Shift R to bring up my picture viewer. And you can see that it renders fairly quickly, and we have a lot of reflections here on this pig. Now, a lot of times, either inexperienced or just kind of beginner Cinema 4D users, or really any 3D users that are doing their own texturing, may go a little bit heavy-handed with reflections. So you want to avoid looking like a beginner by having these really glossy, shiny reflections that don't look totally realistic. We're getting some of the clouds in the background reflected through here, as well as a few lights that I've set up. But we're still just getting a little bit too much of a hard edge on some of these reflections. It just feels a little bit fake. So we can add a Fresnel texture to our reflection channel to fix this issue. So let's go ahead and close out of our picture viewer, and I'll show you how to add that texture. So what we'll need to do is open up the material that we've used on the main part, the pink part of our pig. So I'll just double click that material, and you'll want to select your reflection channel so that you have it pulled up right here. Then you're going to come over here to texture, left click, and add Fresnel. And you really don't need to do a lot more to anything up in this area here, but we will be messing a little bit with the mix strength and the brightness. Now what a Fresnel does is it's going to vary based on the viewing angle of a 3D surface. So it's going to vary the amount of reflection. You can see up here now we've got some pretty heavy reflection all around the edge, but in the middle where it's pointing mostly directly at the camera, we get hardly any reflections at all. And this is a much more realistic behavior for really shiny reflections. So let's go ahead and just take a look without editing the brightness or mix strength of what this looks like now. So we can X out of this, and I'm just going to render to the picture viewer again by hitting Shift R. And even without any kind of changes whatsoever to the mix mode, or the mix strength or the brightness, this looks a little bit better in this area here. But then in these areas over off to the side, we're getting way too bright of reflections. So that's what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like now. So this area here is looking pretty good, but these areas are way too reflective. So let's go play around with that material some more. So I'll just X out of that picture viewer. We'll double click the piggy pink again. And then let's go in here and just turn down the mix strength. So turning down the mix strength is going to just allow that original look to kind of come back through. So just if I turn this down all the way, now it almost looks as if the Fresnel had never been added. So you can kind of see how that changes over time. Now, if you still feel like you're getting too many reflections, you can turn down the brightness of those up here. So I'm going to come in and tweak this down to about 24, 23 or so in that area for both of those. And this doesn't look very reflective anymore in the little thumbnail, but let's take a look at what it looks like for the pig himself in the picture viewer. So let's just hit Shift R again. And it's also nice whenever you're working with this on your own to maybe have your interactive render region open as you make those little changes, and that can make a difference for you. So this is looking much better. I'm getting a lot more realistic looking color. I'm still getting the reflections, but it just is a lot more subtle. So let's actually set this one as our A, and we'll set this one as our B. And then I'm going to come in here and we'll just switch that to a vertical, and you can kind of see as I pull this what a big difference that made. And you can really start to tell when you look at something like this. This still looks very shiny. He's still got this harsh line right through here, but just the way that it's fading in this area, and the way that we get some harsher reflections here really helps to make that feel more realistic. So that is how you add a Fresnel texture to your reflection channel, and then control it a little bit based on the brightness and the mix strength to really make it feel integrated with your particular project. Okay, let's move on to our next lesson, where we'll be talking about metal and how to create a sort of brushed metal texture. And we'll talk about reflections and their inherent colors in a reflection, and just kind of go through the process of the difficulties in creating a realistic looking metal, and then how to get a really nice recipe for creating a metal texture. So stick around and we'll be talking about that in the next lesson.